So this month is bugs. I'm not very fond of this topic, but I mean the bugs, but the topic is fascinating. So through the month, I want to do a bunch of things. We have done butterflies and things before, no? So I want to try and do something more or something different with bugs. We're going to start off with just today we will just do a very loose sketch of bugs. So we can start with pencil first or just start directly with a pen. If you've got a dip pen, then today you can use the dip pen and ink. It changes your line completely between a dip pen, a micron tip pen, and a pencil. So if you can just gather together the dip pen and ink, then let's try drawing with that. The illustrations today, I want them to be very free. So I don't really want to get into giving you the kind of proportion that we do to get very realistic shapes and sizes, because now, I think by now, even without my telling you, you will be able to see those, the geometry in all these elements. So I just want you to be able to put that together in a sketch form. So we will do something that is like a continuous line through which something like a continuous line. We don't have to do it without stopping, but we start making shapes with very loose, basic lines and then start filling it in and then create very textural filling in it. So we want the picture of the bug to look like it has the lines create the kind of textures that it might exhibit. So if you've got a wing which has a lot of those dark veins in it, we will create a similar effect with pen, which would be just scribbling or scrabbling through that shape and create a semblance of it. So I want you to see that there are ways in which you can translate something from a photograph to its illustrated representative. So, like one would say, if you're translating from one language to another, you understand the meaning and then you translate the meaning, not necessarily word for word. That is a true, enjoyable translation of a language. So, we are going to translate what you see in photography into what you can see in line art. So, I'm going to show you how to do one, then I will let you do it. So maybe you can just observe first. Don't do it with me, because then you'll see how my pen works, how I hold the pen, how that texture can be read and then translated. And that I am going to be showing you only one option, but there will be other things that you will also be able to do. So something that I noticed in one of the in-person classes was that a student who comes on Fridays had a problem holding her pen. So I'm going to just show you what problem she had and just check if any of you have that problem too. Okay, so I have sent you 3 bugs. We can make them in this format. And then I'll leave some empty space where either you can write insects or you can write something about the insect or make some more of your own. So the problem that I noticed with my student was writing was that she was holding, this was in a pencil, so she was holding the pencil like this, and all her lines were made using the wrist. So she has painted a lot in her life and always worked with acrylic and oils, but not so much on drawing. And you have been drawing portraits last month. So she was drawing like this. If there was a line to be drawn, if I were to draw a face or something, this is how she was doing it. And even if she wanted to draw a big face, she would hold the pencil like this and do it. Now, this seems normal. But when I asked her to hold the pencil a little further away, and especially when shading, this is what she was doing. So if you notice, my fingers are static and my wrist is moving. Though it is anchored, it is still the whole wrist moving. This is the action we use for shading or coloring with crayons or color pencil. But with pencil, with regular pencil, you don't need to do this because your range is very limited. At the most, I can shade maybe so much. But what I was asking her to do was hold the pencil a little further. Instead of keeping her fingers pinched like this, if she could move her thumb to the back and then move her fingers and then move this entire mechanism a little further behind and start shading like this, she was at a complete loss. She said, I don't know what you're saying. Am I not doing this? And I had to show her at least 3 times. I said, even if you hold the pencil away, this is what you're doing. But what I want you to do is change the angle of your hold, keep your thumb on top, allow the pencil to rest on your middle finger and direct it like this. So can you notice that this entire portion is static and only my fingers are moving? This makes the shading very, very light. So I have not been able to share this because I did not realize that there could be a problem with the way we hold the tool. I may tell you to move your fingers, but if your hold is like this is not going to allow you to move your fingers at all. You would still be moving part of your wrist. And then there is a chance that many of you are getting very clunky shading. So if you don't mind, just hold the pencil and see if you are able to do this, and then we can proceed directly to pen. I just thought that in every class I need to bring this up. Hold it a little further, like 2 inches away. Rest it on your middle finger and use your... So you should be able to shade even without holding the thumb. It's just like this. And this will give you a very light shade. And I'm gripping it from this side, which of course I can then change and grip it like this, but I'm definitely not holding it like this because again, it'll do the same thing. All right, let's move on to the bugs. So the first one we will try will be this dragonfly. Let me share the picture. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to make this dragonfly. In this case, we are not working with symmetry, so you don't have to worry about left side, right side, any of that. We just have to draw it the way it is. I think this is an AI generated image. Nowadays, it's so difficult to find something authentic, a photograph, but it doesn't matter. Now, I mean, we work with what we have. And this is a very beautiful specimen. The best thing about AI generated imagery is how much you can control the angle at which the photograph is presented. It would be very difficult to get a dragonfly to stop in its track. And I don't even know if it's a dragonfly or if it's an imaginary dragonfly because this fellow has got 3 pairs of wings. I didn't know it has 3 pairs. But whatever, it's a nice looking bug and presents us a lot of texture opportunity. So we will try doing this one. It's very difficult for me to not break this down into shapes and proportions and everything. So if I break into that, somebody please ring a bell or something and tell me to stop. Okay, so let's start. At least the one thing you can do is decide on how much space you want to allot this. That is very important, I feel. And at least a mark of somebody who's been doing art for a little period of time. Because if you just come over here and start drawing, especially drawing somewhere over here, that'll be like a very basic problem. So the shapes that I want you to explore should be very fluid. Mm.
I think you're using Sumi ink itself.
Yeah. No, no, sorry, this is not Sumi. This is that
What?
noodler.
Okay, okay. Because mine, I have only Sumi, which means I won't be able to paint over it. I'll just leave it as a
Yeah,
sketch.
don't paint it. The one that we have to paint, I'll tell you to use another
Yeah.
thing.
Okay. Okay.
Is the picture looking too fuzzy? Can you
No.
see sharp lines?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Let's
Okay.
see. Yeah.
Okay, so I am building on this. Sorry, I'm gonna have to dilute my ink. It's gone a little thick on me. Okay, so this is the opposite of what we normally do. Start off with just an idea of what you want to do where, and then basically build from there. So draw the shapes that you need to draw, and from here build the next shape. Make some scribbly scrabbly textures over here to build the bridge to the next shape, and keep growing it almost organically as you start seeing more and more details. So it's just like a very casual drawing, but in the process, your eyes are, um, I guess, going over the details more acutely, I would say. I don't think I have given enough room. So look at how I'm holding the pen. To a large extent, the control is out of my hands. I'm more or less just directing the line in a general direction. So it all sometimes this line can look like the kinds of lines that kids draw who are just learning to control a writing device. But in that line, there is something just very engaging. And these are the lovely character lines that bring so much uniqueness to your picture. The more you do this kind of illustration, the more confident your line just looks. Even if you don't think it is, it just looks confident. It's this one is like a literal fake it till you make it line work. And the more you do this, for some weird reason, your line starts becoming better even when you start drawing in pencil. I have no explanation for that. I've been trying to figure that out. But when Mruga was making her book, there was one time she was stuck on certain things, certain illustrations. And I kept telling her, just, do it directly in pen. This whole writing in pencil and then making it in pen and all is taking too much time. And she said, it's easy for you to say, but I'll never be able to do it. So there's one time she got very frustrated with pencil and decided to do what I asked her to do. And then she immediately called me and she said, I have no idea why, but this was much easier to do than with pencil and then pen. I knew could not erase it, but once I finished it, I realized that I didn't even want to erase anything. Everything was looking perfectly okay. So I still don't know why it happens, but it does happen that the pen, because of how the contrast of the line is appears on paper, it tends to look more finished. That's my understanding. See, on close up, you realize that it's all just scribbles. But it creates a very nice image of, you know, that this is a dragonfly. It can't be anything else. That is one. But also, there are so many things in this that make the illustration compelling. So, if you can imagine a whole page of only these bugs filled with lines which are actually on close up just scribbles, we have transcended one barrier or one um, veil between realistic and something that imitates realistic and calls to mind in an abstract manner something that you know is not the thing that it represents. Okay, shall we try it?
So, Aditi, would you leave it like this, or would you still put in finer details?
I can leave it exactly like this and not put final details. And also, if I were to put final details, they don't have to be more than just these lines. Like, for example, my finer details could just be something like this or
Hmm.
something like that.
Okay.
And then maybe I could do a thicker line over here. And as you can see, I'm not trying to be too refined
Hmm.
deliberately. So I want you to try to do this. We rarely do something like that.
And you're also holding your pen way back in the
Yeah, I'm
middle.
holding it way back because I'm
Uh,
not putting any pressure. If I want to make pressured lines, then I'll hold it closer. Otherwise, the pen will break. So if I want to put, say, the shadow over here the way I see it, then I'll hold it closer. Okay?
hmm.
So I should dilute my India ink, right?
Yes, yes. Dilute it at least to 50%. And also take it in a smaller container.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't open the bottle because that'll keep drying.
This is okay.
Wait, hold it slightly. Yeah, yeah, that's okay. That looks good. So this exercise is can be freeing or stressing at the same time. OCD people will find it stressful. Non-OCD people will find it very freeing. I have one student who comes on Fridays. Dipti, you'll meet her at some point. This is a nightmare for her because whenever I say, okay, free drawing, she said, I'm going home. I cannot do this. Because she says, Tell me, I need very specific things. What do you want me to do?" And I tell her, "No, let it come out." She said, "I cannot do that." What do you mean, let it come out? So it is a very interesting exercise to see, oh, if you just relinquish control over the line, how much can the line do for you? I'm going to look for a tiny bug and make it over here because I have gone and put my thumb in that spot and I'm quite hating it.
It's a shame we are in a bug eating culture, no? given that we have so many bugs.
I know
Southeast Asia, so many countries do eat bugs, and
they do.
Yeah,
ants.
but here even the tribals they eat.
Is it?
Tribe. Yeah. Yes.
India?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
okay, okay.
A lot of the tribals eat bugs.
Because bugs are really high protein
Yeah.
without a single bit of carb. I mean,
And
in general, it would be,
numerous.
yeah, numerous, and in general, it would be just helping yourself,
That's true.
you know, instead of having to kill animals, eat animals instead of that. Just eat the bugs that bother you.
Like monkeys, I think, no? That eat lice.
Do they? Oh,
They do now. They groom each other and then they
that,
pick the lice and they just put it in their mouths. That is so bizarre. But this is one way of becoming more, I guess, personalizing the bug. We are so, otherwise, the moment we see bugs, we reject them. But this brings us a little more closer to them and you realize that they are actually quite amazing.
true, true.
So, have any of you seen a movie called The Bug's Life or A
Mhm.
Bug's Life?
Yes.
It's an old Disney movie. It is absolutely a must. This month, please do watch it. The the manner in which they have created the characters is just amazing. So later in the month, we will be doing a creative exercise in manipulating the shapes of the bugs and things like that. So watching the movie will really come in handy. We're not going to create cartoon characters, I think, but of course we can do that as well. I've spoken about this guy whose artwork is like that. I keep forgetting his name. Some Thompson. Somebody Thompson. Hunter S. Thompson. He was a journalist who's written Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Not one of my favorite movies, but his books were illustrated by, what's his name? Oh my God. And I can never remember these guys' names, but because but I can remember Gonzo because he was a character in the Muppets.
Is it?
Rolf Steadman. Oh my God, I have seen it so many times and I still can't remember. The Rolf or Ralph. Ralph. Okay, I want to show you the line quality in his art. There is a lovely documentary. I think I might have recommended this to you several times. Maybe I'll look for it also and share it. I love watching it because his process is bizarre. He starts off with a blob of ink or paint, like something like this. And he creates the painting after he has made the blob. So he allows the paint to dictate the, or the blob to dictate the end of the picture. This one. He has very quirky illustrations. And he has illustrated one version of Animal Farm, which is absolutely chilling. Illustrations are just spine chilling. Yeah, this could be something like that. So in themselves, they look quite ugly, I would say. Not the first illustrator that I would say, okay, great. But there is an energy that is unmistakable. And in what looks like casual lines, but the strength of the line, there is so much anger and disgust that is conveyed, which is more, I think this is Animal Farm. These are all the pigs having this discussion, and then you have these two, the horse and the donkey and the crow, I think, on the outside listening in on the discussion. So there is more to making pictures than just making the picture of something itself. So at every opportunity we get, we should try to look at how the tool becomes something that helps us share an idea or communicate a thought. Okay, how's it going? Is it done?
What I like about free drawing is that initially it may be scary, but once you make that mistake, then you're free to make more mistakes.
Yeah, do you also think that you look at the mistake a little differently?
Yes, yes,
I,
absolutely.
yeah,
You've taken out that element of, oh, it needed to be right. Now
Hmm,
you can enjoy it for what it is.
right.
For me, it looks like there is no mistake. As in, I mean, you have multiple lines, it's fine, it's adding to the character. Thinking that maybe I have placed it wrongly. So even if I have placed it wrongly, I do another line, it adds to that character.
Correct.
Correct. So this is such a departure from our usual expectation from drawing. We're so caught up in making that correct line. And after you do this exercise, you say, okay, what was I fretting about all this while? So this is, in many ways, I feel this was the kind of emotion that we might have had as children who first got a drawing tool in hand, and we made our first few marks on whatever surface, and nobody thought of telling us this is good or bad. Whatever we did was probably appreciated or at least laughed at with joy. And then at some point they said, oh, she enjoys this. Now let me give her direction. And then you say, okay, now art class, and then see this, see that. And from then on, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That is a very natural thing. But what we lose is that sense of joy of creating something. And I feel sometimes when we do something like this, we are brought back to at least a sense of what that time might have been, because you have willingly let go of control. At that age, you had no control at all, but you had the joy. And the two, I think, somehow might feel the same.
I'm teaching one of the kids in the neighborhood maths and science. Yesterday we were doing food chain. And I'm just showing her how to do like a food web. I just drew the boxes with my hand and she's like, no, you can't do that. You need a ruler. And she's drawing it with a ruler. And it really drives me crazy because I'm trying to tell her that, you don't need these tools. She's like, no, the teacher will shout. So for me, it's like things have changed so much, especially because she's in private school. So maybe that's why. But so like particular that it has to be done clean and no mistakes, and
Yeah.
I'm the opposite only now because of art,
Yeah.
especially because of art. Drawing lines, so using the ruler.
So this is again a thing that I grappled with in the beginning. I used to give my students the complete opposite instruction as was expected in school. But I realized that kids get very confused, especially if they enjoy a class or they enjoy the teacher. Then it becomes our responsibility to give them a very balanced view. So many years ago, I realized that I did not want to create a conflict between what I tell them to do in class and what they are required to do in school. I have very little control with what the school expects. But what I can tell them is that that is not the only thing that they are required to do. So if the school expects you to write in print, for example, nothing stops you from learning cursive and doing cursive in your own time. And I think that is one thing that we were never taught. We went to school as if now you're going to learn what you're going to need for the rest of your life. And now don't look left, don't look right, just excel in only this much. So the idea of taking up something else and of the same nature. So if I do drawing in school, I can also do drawing at home. It's just not, for some reason, not there. If you were to do something, then it would come under the title of hobbies. So those were also categorized. So the nerdy hobbies, collect stamps and coins and things like that. Otherwise, it's not a hobby. If you're drawing, okay, maybe you're not so great. That's why you're doing drawing. Then sports was a different category, and chess came somewhere in between sport and hobby. Puzzles were also considered a good hobby.
Yes, those are intelligent people.
Yes. So
Yes.
your hobby also was dictated by how you wanted to pose, whether you were intelligent or whether you were creative. And it's just such rubbish, I feel. So then once the students said that, look, in school, this is what we are required to do, I started telling them actively, that's a great thing. If you need to use rulers, I want to show you how to use rulers so well that they will think that even that line is printed. Because even when they use rulers, very often kids cannot draw lines on the right angle. There is a trick with which you can do that. So you might as well show them that and perfect that thing, because then they know, at least then they have faith that you are looking out for them. You're not another person who says, no, what I say is right and what the teacher says is wrong. So they are then, I feel, able to accept a lot of dichotomy. They don't need to say only one thing is right when and the world is just black and white and only what I believe has to be right and everybody is against me. Then that is where all the problems start. So I say, okay, this is a freeing method for you to do. When they come to class, I said, look, these are the rules of class. But then, like I give them rules in my class, I can't tell them now in school also you go and do the same thing. Then I would also tell them that, look, there are certain requirements in science that illustrations need to be a certain way, and that is for clarity. And that is also part of learning of the science, like in botany or zoology. You draw the creature, then you mark everything, so you should be able to see all the parts properly. So you can't have an artistic impression of a grasshopper over there. You need to have it like a proper dorsal, ventral, cross-section side. So it took me a while to come to this understanding. I tried to put myself in their position and I realized I would hate it if I had to like one teacher and then because of that, I hated another teacher.
But I think that it was like, na, I mean, we never said wrong to the teacher. I mean, the way she drew, we never said, no, can I do like this? We just followed the way she was telling us, you have to do this.
That Ritika ended at our generation. Huh?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah?
Generation does not think so. The next generation has an opinion on everything, and they don't mind telling you that their opinion is different from yours, whether you're a teacher or a parent. It's just degrees of separation. Like, for example, with a teacher, maybe not so vocal. With a parent, they don't mind saying it before it's hit their head also. That's all.
Yeah, we have become very wimpy parents now.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So when you're saying about this line thing, no, I'm struggling with the opposite of what Shivani is saying. I'm actually telling her to use that scale for heaven's sake. You know, you are not an artist at the moment.
Oh, no.
And your math assignment cannot have lines going upward and downward and anyhow. You can't be writing on, like my daughter will take a pencil and draw lines like this. Okay, on a formal project. Just take a free hand and draw lines, and then she claims to be writing on those lines. So it can't be straight just because you drew it. You think it's straight. You drew it freehand, so you think it's straight. Now write on these lines and see how wonderful it'll look. So it's the opposite. So I have to tell her there is a ruler. Try to understand.
There is a place, yeah. There's a place for
Yeah.
something, and
Exactly.
the moment you tell them that, okay, this place you do this, that place you do that, and learn to see where the difference is, and both will be appreciated in the right place.
Exactly. That's the whole thing. It's not that you can't do it, but you must know where to do it, and then appreciate both in their own context. Like don't look at somebody else's ruler work and say, oh, she used a ruler. It's not fair. Nobody asked you not to use a ruler.
Exactly. Correct. Okay. All right, shall we move to the grasshopper now? This one we can do together. And this one, if you want to, oh, let's see. Nice. Wonderful. Wonderful. Oh my God, this is looking so cool.
Lovely, Alka.
Even Shivani's has turned out really good. Who'd have thought, Shivani?
Hold it up.
Yeah, hold it up. Shivani, we can't hear you.
I said I just love using the pen. I haven't used it since ages. I thought my
But
ink won't
it's so easy to use. I'm finding it such
so
fun.
easy, now.
Yeah.
I just do everything and it still looks good.
I was going to ask you, Alka, why you didn't use the pen for illustrations and on travel sketching.
So I took pencil and the black micro tips only for a reason that if I take colors, I'll get distracted and I'll be like, no, this is going to take too much time.
Correct.
And so some I've used the pen and for some I've used the pencil, but especially the deer and all, I found the shading with the pencil better.
Okay.
And I found the ink was becoming too dark.
Ah.
And there was no way I could blend it,
That's true. That's
So then I just stuck to the pencil. And I'm finding that I really enjoy using just the pencil.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So and that deer, so I was so happy with at the end of it. I was like, wow.
Very nice.
Very nice, yeah.
Okay, so this one, we can use micron tip pens or use waterproof ink. So India ink, just check if it is waterproof also. Because the grasshopper is very colorful. So we can try putting some color in. We're just going to put a few splashes of color. Maybe just throw in like a slap of green or yellow or something like that, and let the colors just merge and blend and do whatever they want to. So the drawing will be pretty much the same, very loose lines. And once that dries, then we will throw in the color. Okay.
So I think I'm going to use a micro tip because my pen was too thick. I mean, the
Which pen are you using?
So this is Krita color.
No, the nib. Uh,
Oh,
is it a separate nib or is it a nib that you insert?
so I don't remember actually. This was way back in 2020 in one of your classes, I think.
So
Oh,
you're filling the ink, right? You're not dipping the ink.
No, this is a dip pen.
Oh, it's a dip pen. Okay.
Yeah.
But should be quite pointy then.
try no use the same pens. I don't use, but don't press too much and see, because however fat your line may be,
Huh.
it will still be an interesting line, more a different interesting line than the regular micron pen. So try it. It will look different, maybe not like mine, but that's fine.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so now the two bugs that we have remaining. One is the big beetle with the spread out wings. So we will make that here, and maybe we can make the grasshopper fairly larger. So enlarging this. Now this itself is something that makes this the illustration different. Usually bugs are very tiny. So a creative expression could also mean manipulating the size to make it slightly different. So at this point, I'd like to bring about the definition that Marcel Duchamp, I think, gave for art. That you take something, how do you know, how do you define something that is art? Um, so you take something and you change it, then that is one thing. There's like three, four things that he said. One of that was suppose I have a regular object that is something like this. And instead of my glasses joining here, if I were to break them and to join where the sticks are together, so that the eyes are on the side and the two sticks are in the middle, I have taken something and changed that. So that can be said, that can be called art. Similarly, in our situation, if the grasshopper is just this size and we enlarge it and we change its size, we change its line, that can also be called art. It's no longer like botanical art, it's not representational, it can be creative. The other thing was if the artist puts a name on it, and this was all in the context of his piece called The Fountain, which was that urinal, and which was sent back at least 3 times. But he said, no, this is my entry for the annual show, and embarrassed all high society because they hated coming to the gallery to see this piece. He said, why are you not allowing it? Because I'm telling you this is art. So the gallery at that time said, if you can send this, that means you can just send anything. Then what is the definition of art? So I think in that respect, he said that at least should have three things. You change something, you put a name on it, and there's one more thing. I'm going to look for it and I'll share that if I find an article. Or I think it was in a YouTube video. Now, in this case, I am making the grasshopper almost transparent because there are some overlaps. But obviously, I cannot draw one thing and then, like in the case of the dragonfly, there were hardly any overlaps, and the overlaps are also transparent. But in this case, I'm going to have to go through these lines. Now, I feel that with all these lovely colors and textures, maybe a grasshopper would make such a fantastic subject for a glass artist to recreate. And then we can call him Glasshopper. Because there's such lovely textures and it doesn't have as many transparencies, but it has got like this line going through the wings and everything intertwined. And oh, I enjoyed the pun more than the idea. So we have to have it. Now, just to complete the picture, if you want to, you can add the tree as well. And it is paining me a whole lot to draw this tree going through the limbs and make it all transparent because it's not my usual style at all. But I'm loving the result. Now, one thing more you can do with a pen is stippling, which is more fun to do with a pen, the dip pen, rather than a micron dip pen. And wherever you have that little bit of texture, you can use dots to create the shadows. So your problem with the shading, na Alka,
No,
would have been solved, except that you would have spent the rest of the day just making
yeah.
dots. But this is a nice way to at least do a little bit. So I'm, as you can see, the dots are also representational. They're not really filling up and giving me the detail that I need, but they're good enough for this. A lot of comic book artists use the dip pen. So you will see this in the work of what's his name? Bill Watterson. Lots of pen and ink work. Then who else? All Amar Chitrakatha was pen and ink.
Even all the manga art, my God, there's so much of it.
Yeah.
So now most of it must be digital, but originally it must have all been.
It was very much. Stippling is very underused. We don't use it enough.
Yeah.
I think it's
Oh,
just we don't
my-
think of it enough.
My sister used to love stippling, and when she was in college, she did science, and then she made these journals for botany, biology,
Mm-hmm.
and so her journals were kept in the college, like for future students to refer to because her drawings were so good. And then one time she did a journal page for Nayantara for Xavier, and then the teacher rejected it, saying it was too perfect.
Oh my God.
It was so hilarious.
That is funny. I mean, teachers always come.
And then Nayantara comes back and she's saying, Mauchi, what did you do? My teacher
The
saying this is
teacher
not
couldn't do it as good. That's why.
I don't know what it was.
Jealousy.
That
Very
sounds.
popular.
It takes away your pain point of constantly telling them you haven't drawn it properly. So what do you crib about then?
I know. But I was humbled like that in my daughter's school once when they asked for a project, and of course, I made it and sent it. And this was in her lower KG or something. She was she was probably 4 or 5, and they needed to draw some animals. And I drew an absolutely perfect animal, whichever it was. But perfect also, I said, okay, this is going to be for a children's thing. So I made it look like a cartoon. I was illustrating for a children's magazine in the city. So obviously, I used all those powers for this. And promptly, the teacher sent it back, and she called me and she said, this project was for the kids. So we are not really concerned about perfection. We want the kids to be able to draw the animal in whatever style they want to. Like if their camel has 5 humps, it's okay, or whatever. So I said, okay, I didn't know the brief. I'm going by what the kind of school teachers we had and the expectations they had. There are still schools in Pune which expect such ridiculous results from the kids because they want to show that in school, that they blatantly, very openly tell parents that I hope you have the time to give us a good project. And then there are people who are hiring art students to create projects for the school, and the school very
Oh,
it's
Good to be hired.
is
Some
Yeah,
pocket money.
clearly haven't found me, no?
Yeah, we should put a thing that if you need your school project done, please contact us.
it is a big market, by the way.
Not know that.
So a friend of mine, his daughter goes to this one school. They needed to make some heritage site from the city, and she asked me to come and help them make this the synagogue in Pune.
hmm.
And I said, isn't this like weird? This is an eighth or ninth standard students project. How are they expecting you to build a synagogue? And she said, they just are. And if we don't give it, she's just going to miss out on these guaranteed 10 marks for the project or something. So for 10 marks, we're sitting and cutting these wooden planks and this and that and making this tower on which we had to paint and label. And the daughter was nowhere in sight.
That is classic.
She had gone off to sleep.
Classic. That is.
Oh my God.
So my friend and I were sitting through the night, and we used to work we went to the same college. So all our projects used to be like that, sitting through the night and painting, aram se. It was so reminiscent of that. I said, itna kuch karke we are back in the same place.
Yeah.
What to do
And
now?
the funny thing is, they just dump these projects after they are done.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
I feel
that is
so bad, at the end of school year, there is one room in which they just go toss all projects
so
Yes.
right. You're so right.
and they just dump it one on top of the other. The Taj Mahal's crashed into
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
and the amount of cardboard,
Yeah.
amount of cardboard.
Thermocol. My God, the
Thermocol.
amount of
One time it was
thermocol.
thermocol, now thermocol's reduced a lot.
So
Good.
thank goodness. Thermocol was it was just tragic to see all of
Painful, yeah, and messy. So messy, that thing flying around all over
Yeah.
the horrible smell when you cut it.
Yeah.
Horrible smell, all that, And even now, like my daughter, their last 2 projects before, they formed a group, and the parent calls me. I said, "Are you part of the group or you're not part of the group?" And she says, "No, we already formed the group. Are you wanting to be a part of our group?" So I,
Oh,
okay, so what is the deal here? So she says, "No, we're paying 500 rupees each of us to get this done by somebody else." I said, "Thank you very much. Please opt my daughter out of your group. Okay, we'll be a standalone group. But my daughter is going to not presenting any project that she hasn't put her hand to."
yeah.
Yeah.
Daughter's project was kachra, absolute kachra. I mean, I had to make an effort not to say it out loud, but it was absolute rubbish.
No,
And
but it's not.
but it's okay. It's your rubbish. It's your fifth standard.
Yeah.
You take it to school, and teacher says anything, tell her you made it yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
No, so again, it looks rubbish if you're going to compare it to a professional artist who's done it. But
Exactly.
that's even not fair. I mean, that guy should do something else. Let them do that. They shouldn't be competing with kids.
Correct.
Ridiculous. That's
Yeah.
like getting an Olympic athlete to run in a kids race. Of
Yeah.
course, it's going to look good.
I
And
blame those parents.
I blame the parents too. It's
Parents
are
the
more
parents and
insensitive.
teachers. They should absolutely not encourage this.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I said, I mean, more than anything, I said this is setting a wrong example for her. In
Yeah.
life, she thinks that if I dole out some money, everything's
Yeah.
going to get done.
Yeah.
Correct.
And that's completely opposite what we're trying to teach here. So
Exactly.
even if you give it to me for peanuts, no one's going to make it for her. She's going to make it herself, or she and her friends, whatever.
Yeah.
Put your brains together, ask for help. If you have any questions, ask. I'm definitely willing to give you a lot of suggestions.
Correct.
Do not ask someone else to make it, and definitely not an adult.
Susan, if you find out those kids whose parents are willing to pay, let us know.
I would have asked, in the same way, it would just be very odd to say, sorry, I'm not going to send my daughter for this, but please send it over
You
to
give me the project.
I don't mind collecting those $500 from any number of people.
I know.
Yeah.
Tea and biscuits.
Correct. And then next time you can also contact the teacher and say, you know what, this is my expertise. Why don't you give them this project next time? So you will get.
Absolutely.
All right. Now let's tackle uh, the beetle or the scarab. So this one should be easy to draw. But the challenge in anything that is symmetric is to get the symmetry. So far, the two pictures that we have done have not had symmetry, so we've sailed through. And that was good warm-up to learn the medium, or not learn, just practice the medium. Excuse me, practice the line. Now, this one can be, it won't be difficult at all because your line will be very easy. Here it's a matter now of a little bit of going back to our method of looking at lines, shapes, angles, and distances, or the lengths of lines, or the nature of lines, where it is curved and where it is straight. So I'm going to again quickly demonstrate how to draw this, and then I would leave it to you to draw the same bug. Now, since we are making such loose lines, it's very easy to make something symmetrical if you draw the line of symmetry. Whenever you draw a line, though, you don't really need to draw the whole line. You could easily draw something on top and then see where you might need it, and then come somewhere over here. We are a smart enough species and brain to know that this and this is one straight line. Then you can start building shapes from here, and the first line you make becomes your unit. So based on this, now you use this line to figure out what the other shapes would be, and avoid making the details in one shot. So first mark the shapes. And with each line you draw on one side, draw its partner on the other side at the same time. It's very easy to draw one same line twice rather than a bunch of lines in one direction which you have to mirror in the other direction. So I have drawn this almond shape here, and if I were to draw a texture, I can draw one line right through the center, then I can draw this line through the center and see what the next lines are. So the building or the construction happening at the same time gives us better accuracy. Now we have this very nice fuzzy, this almost looks like some fuzzy bloomers that the bug is wearing. So cute. Do the same from both sides. Some parts, of course, are going to be just in the center, so that's not a problem. We have almost like a historic collar on this fellow. Then there are some things you can draw, like the line over here, which is for the mouth part, which is not there in the picture, but it helps to create the symmetry. Later on, we can always shade it, put some texture on it, and absorb it in the line work. Now for the angles. First, I would recommend making the angles which are straight. There are usually some lines which are straight heading out of the central symmetry, line of symmetry, because from here you can then get the other angles. You've got the 90-degree, and from here you can visualize the 45, and you can also then draw a line parallel to that. Similarly, over here, you have the same starting point, and then you can draw a line up to this point. This is a very unnatural direction for us to draw. Only Shivani will be able to draw this one properly. But it helps to draw it at the same time you draw the other line. Now, once you've drawn this, you can check if it is correct. I think it can be like this. And look at how far it is. So you can measure distances like this. Use your fingers and make the outline. So that which you thought was impossible to draw because of how complicated the shapes are, we have reduced the shapes. So thereby reducing the number of lines and only addressing those lines which are pertinent to our sketch. I think this fellow can go further because this line comes somewhere here. So in getting this shape right or this proportion right, you will spend some time. But look at the effect that this line is creating. I love how this is looking like the wings are glowing or they are moving in a certain way. And all of this will vanish the moment I start making textures. Then we have the legs on the top. Break down the shape into something simplified, and then you can draw these thorny edges. The best bit about making this illustration style for bugs is that it goes so well for bugs. They have so many such lines and textures on them. Once you are comfortable with seeing this, you can even make it on portraits of people who have very refined features, and you will not find it a problem because you'll start seeing past these lines. So this is just the structure of the weird shaped legs they have. They have these, I don't know what these are, like a V shape thing. There's segments that attach into each other. And every time I look at this, I feel that some designer of clothing must have made pants which are like that, either have frills at various levels or I don't know what, but what an interesting way of creating a leg. And now that the structure is all done, now you can paint it or start putting in the details of the texture. So to make these legs on the top look even more scary, you can just scratch a texture. So we had to paint the grasshopper. We have another 15 minutes to do that. So once this is done, just check if the ink on the grasshopper has dried. And let's paint that fellow up. So for this page, I'm going to encourage everyone to write the word insects on the page on the side. If you've got the same composition as I have, try writing it in the same style as this. Identify the space that you want to write it in. Visualize, INSECTS, and try writing it in ink with a very casual style. Lettering in ink just looks so good. I think this year we have not done a lettering module, no?
No, we haven't.
I'll add one to next year's batch schedule. A word of caution when you're writing letters in ink, you will be moving slowly. So every time just check that you are writing the correct spelling. It's very easy to miss a word when writing slowly because our brains are moving much faster. So deliberately make the shapes uneven. My OCD is that my letters will not go below a baseline. I'm sorry. I draw a line somewhere, and that is underneath the letters. So I would say if you're okay with it, let the letters be all over the place also. That's also fine. You can make letters also something like this. So very aggressive looking letters. Now we can try putting in some color. I do love the page the way it is actually. I don't want to put color on this. This is so pretty. Is Zai still here? Zai, what is this thing called? Is it called a beetle or is it a scarab or something else?
So this is also actually an AI generated image of a beetle. because
Okay.
this has 3 pairs of wings and
Ah,
insects have 2 pairs of wings.
okay, good.
But this is supposed to be a beetle.
A beetle only, no?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let us paint. So I'm using a fat brush for this because I don't want to exercise too much control on the painting. And for this one, I'm going to imitate the same colors. So a little bit of yellow, just splashing it down. So I'm not actively painting. Even this part, I'm holding the brush really far away and I'm just putting blobs of color in places. Sometimes I'm pressing the brush, sometimes I'm leaving it unpressed because I want these weird effects of color also. For someone who 10 years ago or 8 years ago was so strict about her line that I'm amazed that I'm able to do this now. So this was my line of quality in 2016, where I had to be extremely precise about everything. And I felt very uncomfortable when things are not precise. Now imagine something like this in this style would look so exciting. And by the end of this trip itself, I think, where was this? There was only one picture I made in this that I felt I had managed to loosen up just a little bit. Just a little bit. That's this gate. It was so complicated, but I think I broke through some barrier. I realized that it would be impossible for me to make the details accurately. So I said, okay, I'm just going to make something look like the gate. That's it. And it worked pretty well.
What color did you use for the wings?
Cerulean. And because there was some yellow in my brush, it became cerulean green instead of cerulean blue. Okay, how's it looking? Ritika's showing for the first time. Nice. You can put deeper colors, Ritika. Lovely. You can make more lines, Alka. This is still very restrained. When you're drawing, na, you can more lines. So there still needs to be a little more freedom in the drawing. Like when you're drawing a line for one segment, for example, we tend to stop where the segment shows that it's stopping. But you can go through, make it like a through line. It won't be visible like you think it would be. Aha, wow, very nice. Again, you can also make more lines, Shivani. Let's see, nice. Nice. Yeah, so I would say everyone is at about 60% of the freedom that they can get. Ah, nice. Very good. So even in your case, Susan, they are a bit too perfect.
Very hard, no? To break out of.
Show it again. Hold up your page again.
It takes a while to just step off that whole railway of perfection that we have been trying to work on so much. And this technique is actually a shortcut to one place that you want to be, which is to create a very confident line, even when we are drawing something that is very realistic. So, like in the bunch of things that I feel that we constantly work on, one is, of course, the translation. How much does our picture look like the picture that we are referring to? That's number one. But in doing so, how how does our line look itself? Does the line look very pretty? So I would maybe draw a comparison between, I can just write you a quick note and like, in those truncated text, and explain to you the meaning, or just tell you that this morning I had coffee. But I could also write it very beautifully to give you a sense of what my experience was in having the coffee. So that would be a difference between, I draw a line from A to B, but otherwise I draw a very beautiful line. Again, it's from A to B, but the line quality is beautiful. So there is that difference that I'm trying to highlight and make everyone come to. This exercise, drawing in ink with a very loose hand, is one way to achieve the ability to draw a nice, controlled, beautiful line. The others, of course, is a whole lot of pencil sketching, then the gripping of the pencil, like I showed you. So all those things are geared towards your line becoming very beautiful. So we're there, we're getting there. But if you don't free up your line, then it doesn't get the time to enjoy all that space. So you want to, when you're making the line, try a continuous line exercise also in making the bugs. Oh, 1 second, I need to, oh, sorry. Someone at the door, next class. So try this again. Look for not just bugs, you can look for absolutely anything, and try drawing it with a more continuous line. Hi, everyone. It's 11. Our class at 11:30. Again. Come, sit. All right. Okay. Okay. So next week, if you have any specific insects or something that you would like us to make, please look to Zai and request her to send us something that
Yes,
could.
Dai, please.
Yes.
And apart from just drawing insects, at one point at the end of the class, not the end of class, end of the month, one of the classes, or at least the third class from now, I want to do more something like steampunk, in which they have used a lot of insects as inspiration to create objects which are mechanical and look like fantasy products, or modes of transport, or clothing, or helmets, and things like that. But a lot of that has been borrowed from the structure of insects. So if we don't find anything else for next week, then next week we will do that steampunk. And then at one point later in the month, I also want to do another mixing of prints and patterns and insects. So that's what we have to look forward to. Okay, all right.
Do you have any insect pictures from the other class? It's just the pictures. Can you send it to me?
Yeah, I'll put it on the group.
To the page.
Yeah, I'll do that. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, chalo. See you.
Hey, bye everybody. Have a nice weekend.
Nice weekend.
Thank you. Bye bye.